Right. It's a bit different. I want to identify my 5 big alarm bells for shysters on YouTube who are doing market commentary. And the reason for that is I started doing these videos a bit over 6 months ago because when I had time on my hands, I had nothing better to do. So that's one. The second reason is I actually found it very helpful to talk about what I had on and then listen back to it, okay? Sort of like a trading diary. It helped me clarify what was going on in my head, actually. So I watch my videos a lot. The third one is when I looked out for commentary on YouTube about the markets, I was staggered, appalled, disgusted by the number of bullshitters out there who really were just trying to get money out of punters, right? Horrible, right? And the other day, like yesterday, I looked up, YouTube financial scammers, right? And I found a video by one guy. And in my experience, he was talking about, beware of these scams. And in my view, is one of the biggest bullshitters and scammers around. It's just horrible, right? So these are the 5 alarm bells for mug punters. Now, where I'm coming from is I worked for an investment bank, Macquarie, the global investment bank, for over 20 years, from 1989 to 2011. A whole lot of different roles. Ran significant risk books in everything from, the first one was interest rate options. I did currency options, I did cross-currency swaps, I did short-term FX, I did interest rate swaps, I did bonds, I did structured equity products, I did total return swaps, structured interest rate products. I worked alongside gold commodity trading businesses in risk management roles and in systems roles. Made a lot of money, had some books where I didn't make money. Ran a global business, an emerging markets business with 70 staff located in Miami, New York, London, support staff in Sydney. So I've done that and worked alongside, had people work for me, hundreds and hundreds of traders, like in all those spaces, right? I retired 10 years ago, and I am basically spend my time doing music, love music, and I trade in the markets to basically keep my brain active, because I enjoy it, right? I made good money over the long term, and and I'm not looking to sell anyone anything whatsoever. I don't have private chat rooms. I'm not an investment advisor. I don't get any kickbacks from anyone. There is not one skerrick of financial benefit to me out of doing these. As I said, it's a bit altruistic to blow the whistle on the bullshitters that are out there and try and help people to not get burned. I feel for people who listen to some of these internet shysters and inevitably get burnt. It's horrible. It disgusts me. Anyway, so these are 5 big alarm bells, right? 1, if anyone is trying to sell you a course or sign you up for a mentoring program, putting on a free webinar to get your private details or getting a private chat room, avoid them. Avoid them. Right? Without a doubt, avoid them. Right? Why is that? It's the first trick of a scam, is to get their tentacles around you, right? To start giving you a compelling and manipulative sales pitch to get your details, to get you into the rabbit hole, to start getting money out of you. If anyone is doing that, right, avoid them. They are a shyster. Their business is not trading. Right? Their business is making money from you. Right? There's plenty of them around. Right? There's one guy, Greg Secker, world expert on this. He's, another guy, John Howe, very manipulative. That's just no. There's no end of people out there that are extremely manipulative in getting you down the rabbit hole. Do not do it. Okay. Number 2. Anyone that talks about a trading system, an automated system that filters trades to pick from and lets you trade with just 1 or 2 hours a day, right? Avoid them like a plague. That's bullshit, right? If those systems worked, right, then those people would be working or would have worked at some of the world's biggest hedge funds and algorithmic trading, right? At Macquarie, we had algorithmic trading teams. They were mathematicians, they were quants, they were seriously qualified individuals who had proprietary systems, and they made money out of them, right? So those systems do exist, right? But they are developed and run and made by seriously qualified people, typically with maths, pure maths, sometimes computer science backgrounds, and they run risk, right? They don't sell the systems. They use those systems to make money because there is genuine money in those quant trading, and they protect them with their lives, right? So the systems that these punters on the internet are talking about, they're unicorns, right? They're a way to sell you a false hope. Right? They're a way to sell you something that does not work, right? Trading is a 24/6 proposition, right? The only day you get off is Sunday, right? Depending on your time zone, right? The markets are open until mid-morning Saturday Australia time, right? If anyone's saying you can have a great life for just 1 to 2 hours a day, they're selling you something, right? They're selling you a false hope. Number 3, avoid anyone that doesn't have a relevant tertiary degree or serious industry experience. Now, I talk about serious industry experience, right? Again, going to this guy, Greg Secker, he talked about he was a VP at the age of 26 at Mellon Financial. Mellon Financial, they're not a great bank, right? If on Wall Street banks, right, global banks, if you're not a VP within 5 years, right, then you shouldn't be there, right? You may as well leave, right? Becoming a VP is nothing, right? It's cheap as chips. I was an executive director. The way the titles work at these banks is associate director, division director, executive director, or in America and Europe it goes vice president, senior vice president, executive vice president, right? An executive vice president or executive director, that's about 2, maybe 2.5% of the workforce in any one given company is at that level. As far as VPs, it's up to 50%, right? 30 to 50%, right? Being a VP is nothing, right? Anyone that claims that and that's serious industry experience, they are delusional and full of shit, right? There's another guy who actually works for Greg Secker called Greg Morgan. His tertiary training, so his training, it's in marketing. There's other people, they've got plenty of people out there. John Halley's got none, no tertiary degree. There's other guys that have just got like certificates from Kaplan Financial. This is ridiculous, right? If anyone, you're listening to, look at their CV on LinkedIn, right? Look at mine, look me up, Michael Buning on LinkedIn, you'll see it all, right? If they don't have a tertiary and serious industry experience, then don't listen to them, right? Because if they really knew about trading successfully, they will have worked or would be working in the trading industry instead of sales and marketing and training as a YouTuber, right? My mum was a teacher. She used to say, those who can do and those who can't teach, right? Now, out of all the people that I hired, right, not a single one of them came from one of these shitty YouTube training things, right? They just don't, right? Because they're not successful. They are a false hope, right? So the training largely doesn't work. It's a rip-off, right? And if you're listening to someone who hasn't walked the walk, then just turn off, right? They're a shyster. Anyone who boasts about their lifestyle and particularly their difficult past, avoid like the plague, right? That's a classic manipulative ploy, right? Because it sells you this hope of you can be like me. You can have your photograph taken with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's what this John Howell idiot kind of does. Plenty of them, right? And anyone that especially talks about having had cancer in the past, run a million miles and don't look back, because what they're doing, it's a classic psychological ploy to say, I was in a horrible situation, had my back against the wall, I was living at my mum and dad's place, I had to borrow money from my friends, blah, 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 I had cancer, this, that, the other, but look at me now, I'm successful, right? That's a ploy to mess with your brain to say you're probably looking for financial markets to solve a whole lot of problems in your life, right? And they are selling you the hope that it's worked for them, right? Whereas really what's worked for them is basically making money out of you, right? Not making money out of financial markets. And the last one, avoid anyone who wants to get a brass razoo from you, any money, any penny from you. So anyone who's looking for a penny from you, I should actually add all your personal details, right? You are their product. And that's why all those trading things are a scam. So they're the 5 alarm bells. Anyone that is doing one, let alone 5 of those, avoid like the plague. The worst ones that I've come across is this John Howell guy. He's Australian. He started off, he blew up a couple of trading accounts. He actually borrowed like 200 grand from a mate, gave it to someone else, promised his mate 50 grand in return. No doubt didn't tell his mate what he was doing with the cash. And the guy that he passed the 200 grand to blew it all up, right? Now he's training, right? And when you listen to his rabbit hole things, he goes down the hole of saying, let me manage your money, right? This other guy, Greg Sacker, he's trained he's trained hundreds of thousands of people. If this trading's successful, why aren't there like 300,000 billionaires around? He's been doing it for 17 years, he says. Right? Why isn't he running the world's biggest hedge fund if he's that successful? Right? Because he's a good trainer, but he's not a good trader, right? If he was, he'd be doing this thing professionally rather than just for like retail mug punters trying to get your cash. So look out for those things for people that you listen to. Just be very careful. I've got another thing here, which is my rating system for people that I listen to, because there's a few people that I do listen to, right? My rating system, 5 stars, right? They get 1 star for each of these. 1, do they have a relevant tertiary degree? 1 star if they do. No stars if they don't, right? My degree's in computer science, right? I think that's relevant. I did finance as part of that degree. A couple of financial subjects. Worked on trading systems, gold trading systems. That was some of the first systems that I worked on, right? I think that's relevant. Others may not. But look for someone that's got a relevant tertiary degree in a maths, science, business, economics background. 2, do they have meaningful and relevant industry experience? 1 star for yes, 0 for no. They said I worked for Macquarie in a variety of roles since from 1989 to 2011, right? 3, do they work for or with a licensed and regulated financial services company? I don't get a star for that, right? I'm not licensed, I'm not regulated, I'm just an iconoclast, one guy behind a computer. 4, are they not trying to sell you training, mentoring, coaching? I'm not, right? I'll get a star for that, right? I'm not trying to sell anyone a brass razoo, right? I'm not trying to sign you up to any chat room or free webinar or whatever, right? Is their content credible? Okay. 1 for yes, 0 for no, right? So I'm somewhere between 3 and 4 stars. That's how I view it. Guys that I rate on this, there's a guy called Chris Lewis from FX Empire. Look him up. He's good, right? He does have a relevant tertiary degree. It's in computer science, I think. He does have meaningful, relevant industry experience. He doesn't work for a licensed, regulated financial services company. He syndicates his commentary and his blogs through a number of outlets, right? He's not trying to sell training, coaching, mentoring at all, and is there content credible? Yes, he gets 4 stars. I like his stuff. Chris Lewis, if you're listening, love your work. Another guy is James Stanley from, I think he's from Daily FX or FX Daily. James Stanley, look him up. His stuff's mainly on Twitter, right? He's got a relevant tertiary degree. He's got meaningful and relevant industry experience at training at financial companies. He does work for a licensed and related financial service company. He's not trying to sell training, coaching, mentoring, and his content is credible. He gets 5 stars, right? So those guys, James Stanley and Chris Lewis. Chris Lewis from FX Empire. James Stanley, just look him up on Twitter. I haven't come across anyone else that's got above 2 stars, really. And there are no end of them. So be careful who you listen to, because trading in financial markets, it's risky. You can dust a lot of cash very very quickly. People sell you a dream, right? The reality is very different. 90% of people lose money. Trading in futures, it's very risky. Even trading in options, if you're buying options, you can lose a lot of option premium for no reward. Right? using leverage. Futures are very leveraged. CFDs, those kind of things, very dangerous. They're very toxic products. If you're listening to this, my number one piece of advice actually is don't do it. Right? Just don't do it. If you're thinking there's for like 1 or 2 hours a day in a $2,000 training course that you can start, retiring, you're dreaming. The odds are very, 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 very significantly against you. And the only people that make money from that exercise are the people that are selling you their training courses. So look, if you are going to go ahead and trade, then be very, very careful with who you listen to. If you're thinking about it, I would say don't go any further. Stop. If you're really keen, find a good broker and have lunch with them. Right, sit down and have a chat with them. Get to know them. Let them know where you're at, okay? And get a dose of reality from someone who's qualified, who's someone who works for a reputable company, someone who is not trying to sell you like some kind of dream, and someone who knows what they're talking about. Don't hand over money. That's the bottom line. Okay, and look, I hope that is useful. All the very best. Catch you later. Ciao.